1,000 things can happen during launch and only one of them is good. So they weren't kind of the most optimistic or encouraging words to be sent off to space. But what's really interesting for us is this moment where we're kind of crammed in like sardines in a tin can. And the hatch gets closed. It's only about 2 inches away from your head. It's really claustrophobic. And you're thinking of the mission ahead. And it's a real mindset change, because previously, all of the years of planning and preparation, you're a bit more introspective. You've had plenty of time to think about things, slower decision making. But this is the moment where it's just operational focus. It's real clarity of thought, faster decision making, acceptance of greater risk, and really having to roll with the punches. And then at 8 minutes and 48 seconds after the blue touch paper was lit, we arrived in space, and the three of us looked at each other and thought, well, that was weird, because it was a flawless launch. Nothing happened. We'd done this 1,000 times in the simulator before. Of course, something always goes wrong in the simulator. So we're very happy to make it into space, but at that point, our spacecraft, it was just lulling us into a false sense of security. Because about 6 hours later, when we were trying to dock to the International Space Station, it started falling apart, and falling apart quite quickly. Our thruster systems failed, then we had a complete electrical failure, and then our life support system failed. And any one of those in the simulator would have been a really tough morning, but all three, one after the other, was unprecedented. So it was one of those moments where, it sounds very cliche, but all of your training comes to the fore. It took quite a while, first of all, to just establish the facts. What on earth has gone wrong here? Master alarms going off, trying to work out what the problem was, and then find the solution. It took leadership, took training, it took communication, not just with the three of us as a crew, but with our mission control teams down on Earth. And we had to make a big decision as well. Were we even going to try and attempt to dock in this redundant mode, or were we just going to go home, which would be really disappointing after all those years of training? So we decided to dock, and thankfully, on his third attempt, Yuri, our commander, managed to get that spacecraft onto the space station.
95% of AI enterprise pilots have failed to really deliver any value. And the common thread I think we see is when people say, we're going to adopt AI. Okay, why? What for? That's not a meaningful outcome in itself. And whenever somebody, and the governments, worldwide are doing this, we need to drive adoption, we're going to drop jobs. The other one is, we're going to get people to trust AI. Stop it. Don't tell people to just trust it. This is insane. Yeah. But companies that have a problem that they understand, and they've assessed it and gone, what is the right solution, where that answer may be AI. And AI, the generative AI we've got now, meaningfully enable us to do things that we couldn't do a few years ago. The companies that have done that, and they've gone through is this still a process I should do at all? Because have I considered not doing it anymore? Could I replace it by a really simple system? Is there just some sort of digital solution, or a change in the rules? And then they get to, the right solution is AI. Then I think it tends to go quite well.
Yeah, agreed, yeah. What I would say is like giving everyone AI. Anyone that has basic training with AI and gets AI can become 10% more productive. That's not a bad thing. But if you don't really think it through, that's all you get. And I think that's where you get this. Actually, funnily enough, to really get the benefits out of AI, you need what I would call good old-fashioned project management. Okay, we're going to end fraud. I'm working with a big supermarket on ending fraud. It's like, we're going to end fraud with AI. Okay, right. That's not something you just give someone, Claude, and say good luck.
For me, it was looking after my people and making sure that they had the rest, because you're always asking more of your people in the harder times, and you've got to make sure that you are talking to them and understanding what they need in those moments. So, fitness was a massive thing at Williams. We built a state-of-the-art gym. We had personal trainers on site. We had a nurse that people could go and see whenever they needed, that support. I mean, this was back in 2016 when businesses weren't really doing that, but we had that psychological support. We had the physical support as well, so people could access all of that. And I think one of the most important things was for me to have an open door policy. I wanted people to know that they could come to me as their leader and go, I'm really struggling, I need help, I can't do this, but I don't want to leave. I had a lot of people that would come over the winter. So a lot of people think that Formula One is busy during the year. It's even worse in the winter because you're building the new car for the next year. And I had grown men come to my office crying, saying, I love this team, I want to do what I can, but I cannot keep going at this level. And I'm really grateful that they felt that comfortable enough, I suppose, to come to me and have those conversations, because it meant we could put in systems to support them, whether that be like CAD stations at home or whatever it was. You leave the office at 4 o'clock if you want to. Presenteeism is a real problem in Formula One.
Yeah.
So just doing things like that was really important. But one of the biggest things was always to celebrate the small successes. When you're not winning, when you're not going to the podium, making sure that you acknowledge the successes that your team has is so important. So if we would have a race, during a race, and we would do the fastest pit stop, we made sure we went and had beers on a Sunday night to celebrate. Every other team would be like, why are Williams celebrating? They came last. And it would be like, because it is important to thank people when they do a good job for you, regardless of whether you've won or whether you've lost.
And every day was a learning day for me. I was like a sponge. So I'd join a company or a group of people in a TV show, and I'd just be like, how'd you do that? What's that? How'd you get that laugh with that? Why did you do that then? And I just watched everybody and just sucked everything in I could.
Yeah, that's quite a commentary across all jobs, really, isn't it? You've got to listen to other people. I guess take risks.
Yeah,
teams are important.
It's about listening, and I think if you're certainly, I love the idea of apprenticeship, and I know we don't do as much of it as we used to.
Yeah, we should.
But I think somebody standing next to somebody who knows how to do a job, who says, well, I'll show you how to do that. Oh my God, how brilliant is that? I just used to follow actors around like this.
I had very clear rules as a leader. You cast a massive shadow. So I was very clear. If you disturb me at the weekend, it has to be DEFCON 1, massive crisis. Also, I don't want to respond to email, so I clear my emails on a Sunday night because I've got an important, heavy job. And also, I'd rather be flat out working in a crisis or not working at all. So the first thing, I don't like half working. Yeah, because it is difficult to move 50 metres without looking at your phone. I happen to be a distance runner, so I love the English countryside. I disappear. I'm not a big fan on books on 7 tips to resilience because I haven't seen a great correlation between those people who read them and those people who are resilient.